everybody. Thank you for taking the time and joining. I'm here today with our founder and CEO, Michael Kreffner, who's also an expert for topics around digitalization of marketing processes and the disruption of the whole e-commerce experience for many, many years. Thank you, Michael, for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Since it's Valentine's Day today, let me phrase the first question like this. You're in love with the topic around digital product communication and engagement for a very long time. What keeps the spark in your life for this?
Well, I think about two things. First of all, and also welcome from my end to everyone joining in. Yeah, that's the talking heads. So actually, since in university, that was really long ago. It was the first time of the advent of e-commerce, first time whatsoever. And quite frankly, I'm always sobered, so to say, how little progress actually there has been made. So it's absolutely undisputable that there has been a lot of progress being made when it comes to analytics and what is done with our data when we are shopping. We are talking now about a cookieless world, etc., etc. But the actual representation of products, the actual display, if you want to say so, of products, and we're not talking even about a multi-channel thing. We're talking about just how e-commerce still works. Actually, there hasn't been that much change in the last 15 to 20 years, and that's really not cool. And I think that's keeping my spark alive.
Can you give me an example of such experiences?
No, just I think well, we all buy stuff online, obviously, and I'm currently looking for a TV. I need a new TV, and of course, with the TV that you want to mount on a wall, it's very important to understand, how the TV mount actually looks like. And I'm considering a Samsung, so Samsung, huge brand, and on the Samsung website, there's only like 6 photos and a PDF that shows the energy certificate, but none of the pictures shows the TV from behind. And again, this is really, how should I put it, sobering. And that, I think, is just one example. I don't want to bash Samsung here, because they're not doing stuff obviously by purpose wrong, but it's definitely an indication that some of the processes that take care that content ends up in the storefronts are probably not thorough enough, and this is the topic at hand, are probably not part of a content supply chain.
We're going to get to that in a moment, but is this solely a problem for products that you might also shop online? You might easily order your TV and not buy it in the store. So is that limited to e-commerce?
Well, no, actually, I think this is another thing. We got promised an immersive multi-channel shopping experience, I don't know, 10 years ago. And there again, actually not that much has happened. So when you buy online, you have the discussed problems, then you go in a shop and let's say product display is also questionable, specifically because yes, if I buy a TV and go to one of the big retailers, I can take a look at the TV and maybe it's turned on, so I can get a hand on how the picture looks. But there's a lot of details still that I probably cannot view there. So like again, what's the exact dimensions? I would need to pick out my phone and Google for that information. But when I'm at the retailer and I'm Googling, I'm probably ending up at one of these comparison sites. And then oh wow, that's cheaper there. So I'm probably gonna leave the retailer's venue and buy that stuff online anyway. So we have a problem that multi-channel and immersive experiences around products are still a promise that has not materialized.
Understood. How about the whole B2B branch? Is that also a topic that you can find there?
Yes, that's also a good point. Honestly, we do B2B business. So we get approached a lot by companies who want to sell stuff to us. That's also B2B business. And it's really, again, it's really sobering, like how little information you get in the proper way. So, hey, this is an amazing product, I want to sell you. Wow, okay, that sounds interesting. Yeah, can we do a call? Yeah, can you send me something up front? I just want to take a look. Yeah, well, here's a 60-page PDF, and the product we're talking about that might be interesting for you is actually on page 16. Oh, wait, no, it might be also on page 14, I'm not sure. And it's a 20 meg file. So, I mean, what? So this is also something where it's not just about, let's say, classic B2C e-commerce stuff. It's not only multi-channel stuff that has a point of sale implication. It is also still a problem that's still at large around B2B sales as well.
Okay, so where is the problem? To go back to the TV example, so don't any photos exist of the backside of the TV?
Well, I would suggest that I would think that Samsung has, you know, a lot of budget, so to say, to create content. And quite frankly, the problem that might be rather in a way that they have no oversight, so to say, what the results in their different channels should look like. And by that, they, again, if we take this terminology of a content supply chain here, they cannot actually deduct that, so to say, from the storefront back, meaning, okay, this is what I want to achieve. What do I need to do to actually get there? And I think that's the problem that they have. That might be a clustered process that is, cluttered process that has is involving a lot of internal and external resources, and obviously a lack of governance on their side. And so that, again, I think they do as best as they can, but having, like, I don't know, 1 million products, that's really a challenge to actually have this kind of oversight and process stringency in plan.
So you mentioned the term of supply chain, which is something we all know probably from industrial complex and all of that. So how does that work together with creating content?
Well, I think I really like the term content supply chain because it implies something, and you know, the idea is, of course, and we all saw that with the COVID transformation that happened, where of course everything went even much more digital than it had been before. So the problem obviously is, and then stays at large, that obviously everyone was considering their real supply chains. Yeah? When this one ship, so to say, got stuck in the Suez Channel, like, oh my God, the supply chains are broken. But essentially, the situation where a ship is standing, so to say, sideways in this channel, this is something what happens like very frequently when it's about creating content and experiences around products in multiple brands, or many brands have the same problem. So what they actually, and this includes all companies, also small companies like us, what we actually should be doing is considering all this as a similar supply chain to the actual supply chain that will help our product end up at the consumer's doorstep, so to say, with a lot of logistics and obviously production and resources, etc., etc. But the same actually counts for the content for that. And quite frankly, I think that is something that's really rarely done. It's just not happening yet.
Is that your experience? So you're really in contact with a lot of different companies, brands, professionals around these topics. So are most companies really aware of the content supply chain they're having and having a clear overview of what's involved?
I think what, of course, you know, CELUM for 20 years now has been in the field of digital asset management. So what we do is and do for now a very long time, we help our customers to create the single source of truth. But actually, it turns out that this is just one part. It's the logistics center, if you want to say so, of the supply chain. But this is not the supply chain. This is one very important part. You cannot deliver stuff somewhere if you don't have the logistics center. So it's very important. But it's only a small fraction, actually, of a broader supply chain. And what we witnessed with our existing customers is, and even with companies that we talk to, you know, befriended companies, etc., is really that. And honestly, I feel them, and I think in some cases even we did the same in the past as a much smaller company, is yes, we're gonna call up one of our multiple agencies, they're gonna take care of something, then, oh no, I have to call up somebody else to, you know, we have multiple potential ship sideways situations here in this supply chain that might occur or not. But the problem is that it is technically a supply chain. It's not perceived as a supply chain, and it's just a problem, so to say. It's a problem in the making without brands knowing. And then when we talk with customers, we see that they spend a lot of work and effort and a lot of really, let's say, human effort is needed to keep these flows ongoing. And it's really, it's hard to watch sometimes how much individual, force people need to, and attention people need to apply there to get things done, because it's not considered an end-to-end supply chain. It's just step 1, something, step 2 or 3 or 4, I don't know. And that's really a problem, because it hinders, obviously, even large brands like Samsung to really stand out against their competition. Because at the end of the day, that's it. It's competition, 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 and in the middle is a little you. And you need to, stand out. And standing out in a digital economy just means that your content needs to stand out. That's it. Speaking back to that, big amount of
human resources involved in these processes, but also a lot of workarounds come into play. Speaking from my experience as a marketer, people then quickly improvise a very short-term, also technical solution. So there's a variety of tools in place that just help you reduce the next step in the process that you've never mapped out, right? So what is usually the setup you find in companies that are at that stage of not being really content supply chain aware?
I think also let's just take the example with the real supply chains. Yeah, what we are seeing is that in many content supply chains, the problem is that brands are using the small trucks, the small flatbeds that their agency partners, for example, are using to actually get at least parts of that supply chain done. And the problem is they're using like 15 different tools, or even if it's only 5 different tools. Stuff for sharing content, stuff for, and even email is still a thing. So the problem that they have is they have no governance, meaning they are absolutely relying either on a hodgepodge collection of things that they host themselves with all the compliance problems that might probably come up with, and or they have outsourced situations where their external partners are actually using their tools and they have no control over that whatsoever. So at the end of the day, just imagine if you're looking at the real life supply chain, it's like, okay, oh well, I'm Mercedes-Benz and I'm building cars, but then I don't know, I'm letting, I don't know, small car dealers, little lorry, so to say, to be used to actually put my cars, so to say, from the factory to somewhere. And sometimes it breaks down, doesn't work whatsoever. And then I'm wondering why I don't get my cars shipped. They would never do that. So while they outsource all the time in real life supply chains, and sometimes also see now the problems that they have there with losing governance there, this is a big problem in real supply chains right now. This is where big companies are actually taking a step back. So this is a great analogy, actually, still. At the end of the day, the most important issue is that without governance, they cannot decide how quickly they want to move something. And at the end of the day, they are absolutely reliant to have a lot of brilliant people using a lot of their ingenuity and time to actually keep this thing flowing.
So IT security and legal departments will be not so happy with the current setup that you can find in such companies.
When we talk with some of our brands, and again, not only existing customers, also companies we talk with, you always, and more often than I would like to hear that, you hear this, we know that what we are doing here is a little cheesy and we hope that the compliance people don't find out because that's actually not okay what we're doing here. That's really a problem. So we're talking about ransomware attacks all the time, etc. So this has also, again, real life impact. So, but then that would probably not go too far. At the end of the day, yes, compliance is a big thing, and that should be taken seriously as well.
Yes, and next to that, you also, with such a scattered infrastructure, have the troubles of seeing what's already there. Where is the things that I currently need?
Exactly. Governance means oversight, meaning knowing where stuff is and in what step it is, in what stage it is. And if you don't have that, it's a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, it's a lot of discussion, a lot of going back and forth. It's a lot of, well, did you actually send that to me? Did I actually approve that to you? Did product management in the meantime make a change that legal actually hasn't seen yet? What are we doing here? And if, just imagine this cluttered between like 3 or 4 different systems, that is on the brink of unmanageable. And it definitely takes a lot of time. And we are now talking, about a world where, talented people are hard to get. And you don't want to waste your marketers, so to say, with that kind of crap jobs. You want to use their creativity and ingenuity to actually, have great ideas, make your products so to say, stand out by creativity, but not consume half their day with phone calls, emails, and I don't know, scanned PDFs that are being printed, then marked up, then something is again scanned and sent back. This is, we're in the 21st century. That shouldn't be that way.
Absolutely. There are often also redundancies of working on projects that basically have been executed elsewhere already, and you could start from there. So yeah, companies being aware of problems that they're having, how can they start? What can they do to get started of improving things?
Well, I think first of all is starting with understanding, with understanding that, so to say, you have a situation that is comparable to a real life supply chain, and that it's not just one part. So when we get approached by customers like, okay, we just need a dam, and we said, yeah, but honestly, you need more. You need a content supply chain management solution, because a dam, per design, per definition, digital asset management is the management of digital valuables. Without not talking about crypto assets that are using the same term, but that, for example, is a situation that we see in the market, and that needs to start. The process needs to start with the understanding, and then it's an analysis, obviously. Okay, what does these processes really look like? And actually, we should start with, at the end, you want to excite your customers, and that's the last step in our 4-piece content supply chain as we see it. And that's excitement, and you want to gain insights. That's the 2 things at the end, and you should think from there backwards. And we see that a lot of companies start with the other way, like what do we have in the ERP, and how can we push this somewhere, or again, stuff like that. You should actually do it the other way around. So this is what we recommend: analyzing what the actual result should be, and then describing that content supply chain backwards, and then making an oversight. Where are the players in this game? Where are they internally, externally? How can we make, so to say, a situation? How can we build a situation where the brand has more governance without actually, obviously, enforcing stuff on agencies? And of course, they want to have this kind of control. There's a little conflict of interest. We do understand that, but we think that agencies, if they fully embrace that, will actually have also reduced effort, more, how should I put it? More reliability in the processes with their brand customers. So there's a lot to gain for everyone involved in those supply chain steps.
So once that is done, I mean, you still have a setup of a tool set that won't help you achieving what you need to achieve, exciting really the customer with the amazing brand content that you have about your amazing products. So you would still have your internal SharePoints, our externals cannot reach it. So you're still using FTPs and yes, things like WeTransfer. So what is then the step in the direction of tools?
Well, how we see it is, it's actually a vertical integrated chain. So this chain, so to say, dangles downwards and starts with, again, excitement and gaining insights, and then it comes down with, so to say, creation of content and approval. And what we see here is that actually in this vertical chain, so to say, at any link level, there is, in some cases, need to integrate. Because again, talking about starting with the excitement, you're gonna definitely use content in different endpoints. You're gonna use content in SharePoint, for example, and you're gonna use the same. You want to probably use the same content in your e-commerce platform or in a sales enablement tool, or in your CRM by being a B2B organization and actually reaching out to customers directly by that and sharing content with them. But you want more than just sending more or less a smart email that has a link. You want to actually then know, is this content being used? Is my customer looking at it? Stuff like that. You want to gain insights, what works, what not. And I think that's also of paramount importance, that we do understand, and to my mind come terms like composable commerce and composable content, headless content. That's actually an interchangeable term here. And that's the future as we see it when you talk about the excitement, the actual experience level. And having this in mind, everything else, so to say, is then part of the supply chain that starts with, again, create, manage, route, and excite. And I think that's also important to understand, that in a modern world, there is no one single storefront. There is no one. There's technically not one player. Not even big boys like, I don't know, Adobe or Microsoft can offer multiple channels. They have a few of them covered, So that's one thing where integration, but the next generation of integration is composable content. It's stuff that is being placed somewhere, and still the governance is retained in this vertical supply chain.
So if you look at these 4 steps, so create, manage, route, and excite, do I need now very specialized tools for each of these stages that's very well integrated with the next one, or should there be one tool to cover it all?
One to rule them all. Yeah. So I think, and obviously, not 100% neutral here, but this is what we at CELUM believe, that yes, there should be one verticalized tool that is, so to say, a player in this vertically integrated chain, but then in every link there is connections and integrations with other tools possible, because this is the modern platformized world. But yes, we truly believe that you need one solution that will, so to say, be the backbone of that supply chain.
You already mentioned the integrations, also very much on the excite side and the routing side, that you want to play the content in there. How about the creation side? Any specific features and integrations needed there to support teams in creating the best brand content?
Well, absolutely. I think if we have companies that work on a completely 3D based virtualized product environment, long before, so to say, the actual product is being started to be produced, a lot of stuff happens there. So the integration, obviously, in those product lifecycle management tools would be very interesting there, or is very interesting there. Is showcasing 3D content, for example, stuff like that. That needs to come from a creation tool. So this is where the integration there is highly important. The same, sorry, what we are currently looking at, obviously, team collaboration, aka Microsoft Teams and tools like it, are a big thing, because you want to have people, going back and forth, so to say, in their daily work, and want to have, to a certain extent, at least, to say, one stream of conversation. And quite frankly, this is another idea where the create piece would be integrated with other applications. At the least, it's, so to say, the integration of user management stuff, where you don't want to create an account for each of your 15,000 employees, stuff like that. But that's, again, this is not very, that would be probably too technical.
So we touched upon the different stages of the content supply chain. We've also prepared a little visualization, how it looks like, so it becomes a bit clearer what we are talking about, and also how it actually adds up to the great experience of the customer and potential customer in the end. So we just spoke about the create and approve one. Maybe a few more words on the approval process. We mentioned the collaboration with a lot of stakeholders in the whole process, especially with agencies. So what is your experience there? What's usually the issues that you find in this stage, and how can a tool help you solve this?
Well, there's actually a few ways how it really can help you there. I think, again, it boils down to governance on one hand. So that's very important, that the brand has full governance of all these steps. And this gain insights is something that's highly important, and something we're gonna invest a lot more in the future, because at the end of the day, and this is what in a privacy concerned world, first of all, it's really getting harder and harder to understand what your customers are doing when they are not becoming customers, so to say, or why they are not becoming customers. What content, again, what content works, what content is crucial in actually making a buying decision, and what not. If somebody, doesn't convert in an online shop, that has a lot of reasons. We know that the checkout process is very important in any e-commerce context, but also the product experience is extremely important. So obviously, people that didn't really look at content are very likely to not go through with the purchase, because it's more like, okay, it's like a check pin, so to say, that you put it into the cart, and not really have the intention at that point to really go through with your purchase. But you would actually want to know how much, were people consuming content before they placed it in the cart, and stuff like that.
So speaking about product experience, so this is nothing that starts when you have the product actually in your hands, or when you're actually on the UI of your software. This is something that starts way earlier and makes a big difference for for consumers in their whole decision-making process, correct?
Absolutely, and the thing is, again, in a digital world, sometimes you don't have the opportunity to actually get your hands on the product because, you know, you're just online, you're just digitally purchasing, or because in a highly customized product world where you can actually build your very much unique version of a product, there's no way that you can really get your hands on that. It's much more that, you know, you need to have visualization. You need to have, you know, we're talking about AR. That's going to be, so to say, a big thing specifically, and it's already a big thing with mobile phones, for example, where you can, okay, taking a look how these super customized sneakers would look at you, because there is no sneaker to try out. It's not yet produced, and I think that's another level of complexity that consumers are more and more expecting. And this needs, again, a highly structured content supply chain.
Okay, so to sum it up, to round it back to the example you gave at the very beginning, the now already famous TV that you there. So the problem with the TV is that the content supply chain that we solve, it is broken. It is not structured.
The only explanation that such a big brand that has all these resources is actually not even able to have a frigging photo of the back of the TV and a mounting instruction or something.
And it costs money in the end.
Exactly. So, but it's again, they're not stupid. They're highly sophisticated. They have a lot of money, and still. So the only explanation is, by deduction, they have a process problem.
Thank you, Michael. We also have a couple of questions from the audience to jump in there. So yeah, when getting started with such a project, the question is, we're speaking about very large companies, corporations like Samsung here. So who is the internal sponsor of such a content supply chain is the question that we're having here.
Well, that's a good question. It's very, I would say it needs to be contextualized in its answer. In some cases, it might be product management, or at least something that is called kind of product management. In some cases, and I think that's also a problem, that brands that don't have yet a chief digital officer or something like that, a centralized office for that kind of process governance, not only for content supply chains, but for anything, they will struggle, because without an at least possible sponsor, a possible single point of, yes, we're going to do that because we can be so much better by that what we achieved there. I think it's going to be very tough if just, to say, retail marketing, for example, says, okay, hey, we want to establish that now, because it would include so many more people. Again, depends what kind of organization you are, how powerful, so to say, in this case, retail marketing is. So frankly, the sponsor needs to be somebody, because it's a highly strategic and highly important project, somebody with a lot of punch in the organization.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another question. How long does it take to establish such a process, including the technical implementation?
Well, again, this is also a quite difficult, or a great question with a difficult answer, because what we are now seeing with our customers is that we're talking about days or months, both of them. In some cases, they have reached a point where they say, okay, we cannot go on like this. There's a lot of understanding where the breaking points, where these like ships are blocking the channel. If they have that, it's actually much simpler. Organizations that are not really sure, and again have not a single point of governance per se, per process design wise, they will take longer to figure out who's involved, what kind of people need to be on board, who needs to be bought in. I think what the technical challenge here, in all openness, is we are talking here about complexity. We're talking about a complex issue. A supply chain is complex. Nobody would doubt that. And the same goes for a content supply chain. So people need to understand that there's a lot to gain, but it also means a lot of energy that's needed to really make this happen. There cannot be that people say, oh, okay, well, I'm again, jumping out of the supply chain again and doing something, whatever I like to do. Just imagine you would do this in your accounts payable department. People would, I don't know, build their own invoices in Excel because they don't like the, SAP approach to it. It's completely unthinkable. And I think that's also something that marketing organizations in large brands are on the brink of that they need to go full automatic, so to say. They need to automate stuff, and a supply chain management tool is absolutely crucial for that, but it's gonna cost, so to say, effort and discipline.
Thank you, Michael. We have one more question here. The attention economy's information overload has not dulled customers' senses, but appears to have made them hypersensitive. How do I avoid alienating my target audience with my content? Okay.
Well, I think this is why it's so important to think from the storefront backwards. So not throwing content at people and then say, okay, so one of that will hit. It's the other way around. It's like, okay, you want to make sure that your buying persona is getting certain information and content in a certain way. What do you need beforehand? So it's actually, it's a great question, because actually in our attention economy, it is important to not just throw content out, but place the exact right content in the faces of people. So if I get the wrong content, I'm gonna be even more pissed than not getting content at all. And that's definitely, so to say, what we need to understand here. But again, you need to have this supply chain idea in place, because only then you can start thinking from this excitement. You want excitement, and as this question implies, to see people that are excited about something, they don't care how distracted they are with other stuff.
Mm-hmm. Great. So we have no further questions. Then let me just conclude by thanking you again for taking the time, and also thank all of the attendees. You will get the recording of this webinar, of course, sent to you afterwards, and otherwise wish you a happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.